Hey, thanks for joining us at Nextleveloz. This episode we put even more protection on our van, head to Western Queensland where we find some brilliant campsites, we watch chook races at Tambo and visit the Tree of Knowledge.
Absolutely beautiful sunrise scenes here on the banks of the Maranoa, and with the perfect homemade flat white.
If you want a tip, here's a good tip. Don't be a publican in Barcaldine.
This is just absolutely insane. So when we go out, we're going to come out, go onto that road, go out west, and then keep going west, and then keep going west, and then go further west. We're going to do a relatively short trip, 2 to 3 weeks out into the Waltzing Matilda country, heading out towards Winton, Longreach. We'll also do Caravan Gorge, but today we've had an early start at Brisbane and we've come past Salmon's, Wade Salmon's sheet metal works, and we've done that so that we can actually have a new underbody stone protection system put on the van. The one that Zone put on is good, but the one that Wade has perfected, and he owns his own, is actually really very heavy. We're at Salmon Sheet Metal and we're getting the underbody stone protection system put in. And, the guy's been really good. They've got the Wade Salmon as a zone, and he developed this underbody stone protection system for his own van, and has perfected it here at his sheet metal works. And I've got to say, we got here a little bit early because we wanted to miss the traffic in Brisbane. And the team were great. I mean, they came out and said, come on, let's get in early. There's a few clouds on the horizon, so obviously they don't want to work in the rain. But just in, and the whole team has been in, and it looks like within sort of 15 minutes we'll be in and out of here. So well done to Wade Salmon, to Hans, who's the production manager, and the team. Great job. Thanks, team. Give us a friendly wave. We've stopped at Bowenville, which is just short of Dalby, so I think the aim is to sort of stop every couple of hours if we can. But a pleasant little rest stop here. It's the site of an old railway station with those lines long since sort of closed down. It's a good place to sort of make your own sort of cup of tea and stretch the legs. There's some loos, not very clean, but certainly some flushing loos. Not a bad little playground for the kids. And good little story about Brigadier General Grant, who at one stage, according to this, owned the railway station, went on to have a distinguished service career in the light horse, including leading the charge at Beersheba, so quite a famous battle in the First World War. A little bit of a point of interest while you stretch the legs. How good is this place? Hats off to Western Downs Regional Council. We're at the Chinchilla Rear, and they've done an absolutely brilliant job with the campground here. Certainly strongly recommend this for an overnight or two if you're on the road. It is a free camp, but they've got sort of something like about 10 to a dozen powered sites, and all they ask for is a donation at the local information centre to use those. We didn't need the power, but absolutely brilliant layout. They've got a small camp kitchen overlooking the dam itself. We were sitting here just after we'd pulled up, and the council truck pulled up, and how good is this? They've actually dumped a load of firewood for all the communal pits. So we might well duck into town and spend a little bit of dough so that the local traders get some value out of the rates money that they've put into this location. But thank you to the ratepayers and to the council of Western Downs Regional Council, because they've done an absolutely brilliant job. We stopped in at Mitchell, got some fresh water, and then found this absolutely brilliant free camp. Absolutely beautiful sunrise scenes here on the banks of the Maranoa, and with the perfect homemade flat white right here in the hand. I was posting this morning just a very short video to some friends, just with some bird sounds. I'll include it in this clip. But as I was doing it, I thought some people might be wondering how we go with internet connection. We've only got one bar of internet down here on the banks of the Maranoa, where we've actually installed a slight upgrade. So you can see on the back here, and I'll show some closer photos, that we've actually got the WinSig 5G antenna. So we upgraded from the standard antenna on the zone to the Wineguard. We never actually used the Wineguard. We had the Wineguard antenna head taken off, but the WinSig actually fits onto the rising arm of the Wineguard. So there's two different ones, WinSig 5G and Wineguard. I'm not sure that we get any better reception on the television antenna. That doesn't worry us too much, but it's got a little 5G antenna, and that does a reasonably good job boosting the signal in through the Telstra Nighthawk 5G modem. We can't get 5G here, of course. We're out in the outback, but it's managed to boost a signal to the extent that we've got good internet connection. We can stream off it, even though there's only a 1 bar signal on the phone. So I thought I might just pass that on to you as a bit of an option for those looking for various options. Some of the other team got some even more advanced antenna and modem connections, and we're all watching Starlink quite closely as that expands. But I thought you might be interested in this one.
It's been a good day today. We had a pretty easy start at Mitchell on the banks of the Maranoa. We headed into the Great Artesian Spa at Mitchell. So they've got a pool in there that's fed by one of the hot artesian bores. It's about 39 degrees, so you can't stay in there too long, but it was very pleasant. You could jump out of that and into the cold pool and back in again, which I did. Paula wasn't so keen on doing that. And now we're sort of heading up the Matilda way. So we went from Mitchell to Augathella. We just stopped at Augathella for lunch at the pub. Pleasant lunch, and had a quick drink, stop there, and then we'll head up the way. So the Matilda Way, which is Landsborough Highway, head into Tambo early afternoon, mid-afternoon, and we'll stop at Tambo overnight. So Tambo's the home of the Tambo Teddy, and we might even head down to the pub this evening. So tonight we'll stay in a caravan park, mainly because it's in the centre of Tambo and we won't have to walk too far or drive, and then we can have a look around Tambo in the morning and then head on up to Blackall and to Barcaldine after that. Anyway, so pleasant drive, so far so good. Petrol prices have just sort of jumped up sort of noticeably compared to sort of Roma, where we filled up, so nearly 20 cents a litre, getting close to 30 cents a litre more expensive here than it was at Roma. Anyway, so far so good. Fuel economy's been good. Defender's been towing the zone like a dream, and we'll settle in for the next hour and a bit, hour and a quarter or so before we get up to Tambo. We'd heard about the chook races at the local pub, so we thought, oh, that's going to be a bit of fun. We'll do that, have a couple of beers, turn in early, and then get back on the road the next day.
All right, so ladies and gents, you might be sitting there going, why on earth does this crazy person do chicken racing? That is a perfectly valid question. Are we on? Yes. Ladies and gents, we are on lap number 1 here at chicken racing in Tambo. As we turn the corner, who we got? We got Pigment's Wetland escaping, it's looking pretty good. Here we go, Chinchilla, all right, we got Bumblebee, hang around that finish line, all right, as we hit lap number 2, ladies and gents. Get out! Get out! Get out!
So we're in Blackall, which is sort of halfway through the Matilda Way, about 100 kilometres north of Tambo, where we stayed overnight. We had an easy start in at Tambo, got up, went down to visit the Tambo Teddies, picked up a teddy or two, and also then went across to the historical sort of site and museum. Tambo was sort of once pretty much the largest town in the central west, west of the Divide here in Queensland. And still a nice place to stop over. But we've come north in at Blackall, and we came out to visit the Woolscow, which had been recommended to us, and unfortunately they only have a tour twice a day. They're pretty much dependent on volunteers now. They were saying that they had a few problems during the COVID year and had to shut down, and they're now sorting out new management. But it was here because one of the artesian bores gave them sort of hot water and they were able to scour the wool.
No.
Come here. Hello, how are you? Interesting place, but you can't go into the buildings themselves. There's no self-guided tour here. You're required to be escorted. Check the internet and check the guide if you're coming here. It would be interesting to have a look at it. Unfortunately for us, that didn't work for our times today. So anyway, we're going to head into Blackall. We'll visit the Black Stump, the famous Black Stump. And then this afternoon we'll head up to Barcaldine, where we're going to spend a couple of nights touring up in and around that area before we head to Winton.
Okay, let's check it.
Well, we were driving through Blackall anyway, so it was worth coming to see the Black Stump just on the way past. We use it as a lunch stop, and we're officially not yet beyond the Black Stump, but we're about to be beyond the Black Stump.
We are.
Well, we've stopped over at Barcaldine, and it's a blowy, overcast morning, but we've stayed at this gem of a place. We'd been free camping, as you know, from some of the previous posts, and that was great. But we decided, once we'd got up towards Barcaldine and Winton and those areas, there'd been a lot of rain, and so some of the sites for free camping probably weren't that suitable. So we decided to stay a little bit closer to town, and in Barkie we found this place on the internet, which is Roses and Things Caravan Park. And it looked nice. There's little tea rooms here and just 11 sites, nice and green and pleasant. We're like all caravan parks, we're a little bit packed in, but there's really only 11 vans in the entire site, and everyone's been friendly. The facilities are clean, they're good. And the tea rooms, and we'll try out the flat white a little bit later. So we thought pleasant stay here. We're going to take it easy at Barkie. We got in sort of later yesterday afternoon. We'll just wander around Barkie, do a little bit of a stock take. This has sort of been the most significant drive that the van's done since we've had it. So we'll just check a few things out, spend an overnight, and then do an early morning sort of head out towards Winton, which is... It's raining. Here we are in the outback. Normally, people relate to the drought. They've had some heavy rains in through the area as we're travelling. We've been pretty lucky. We've missed most of the rain, but we've had some showers this morning. Even in the rain, you still got to do things. So we came down to the Tree of Knowledge. Interesting and historical story. Essentially, sort of revolves around the shearer strikes of the 1890s. And because of these strikes, a number of the people in the union ended up being imprisoned. But the story of the Tree of Knowledge is this is essentially where the Australian Labor Party was formed. Part of the history of Queensland and the union movement and political history in Australia, and regardless of what you think about politics and where you sit in politics, it's still an interesting story.
and pretty turbulent part of Australia's history. So well worth coming to have a look. It's a shame. The tree was in decline, but still alive, and some lunatic decided that they just didn't like what it stood for, or for whatever reason, and they poisoned it and killed the tree. And that's just a tremendous shame. I mean, no matter what you think about the event or what you think about the politics, how it was created, it's still part of history, and you've still got to come and understand these things. And at the end of the day, people who would do something like that, they're just vandals, and it's just destructive. But I've got to say that the council, and obviously with some support from both Commonwealth and Queensland governments at the time, decided they're going to try to preserve the site as best they can, and they've built this structure around it, so that the historical event is still commemorated and recorded. So if you're coming through this way as part of that Matilda way, it's well worth stopping past and having a look. And it's what Barcaldine was famous for, amongst other things. So so drop on through. If you want a tip, here's a good tip. Don't be a publican in Barcaldine, because if you're going around, of the 11 pubs that they've been in Barcaldine, all bar one of them has burnt down at least once, if not twice or 3 times in their history. So pretty unlucky. So pretty unlucky buying a pub in and around this area. But the Artesian, it was pretty safe. So if you want to avoid the fires, obviously stick somewhere around there. Not much luck with that pub. Well, this one.
Which one?
1896, 1927, and again in 1927, while it was still being built.
Good photogenic.
No, we've all got good heads for radio, so we're doing all right.
Hey, thanks everybody for watching Nextleveloz. Stay tuned as we head to Winton. We listen to some bush poetry at the North Gregory Hotel. We hit the dinosaur trail, and we meet some local characters. And don't forget, please help our channel by liking and subscribing. Cheers. See you next time.